All right, what's up, guys? VV back with another video. And in today's video, guys, we're going to finally be finishing up the OP10 full set review. That's right, we're almost done, guys. Today is the last video, and we're going to be going over the yellow cards. So I've already gone over all the other colors. Each one has their own individual unique video, as well as the leaders as well. They have their own video as well. And once I'm done with today's video, I will put them all into a playlist so you can watch those at your own leisure and all that good stuff. Okay, now if you're not into these kinds of videos with the set review, make sure to jump to the end of each one of my videos, because I do have some gameplay, just random games at the end of each video for you to check out if that's more your thing. All right, well, without any further ado, guys, let's get into this. Let's hop straight into it. You know what you're getting into. I will have everything time-stamped in the general description. I'll have all relevant deck lists and links down in the comments section below. And yeah, let's do this, guys. Let's get into it. So first up, we have Inazuma here. We have a 4-cost, 5,000 power Revo Army type character with the effect of Dawn ×1 when attacking. Rest up to one of your opponent's characters with a cost equal to or less than the total of you and your opponent's life cards. And of course, the trigger is a very standard Revo Army style trigger now, where if your leader has the Revo Army type and you and your opponent have a total of 5 or less life cards, play this card. Not too bad. I think this is a pretty solid card, to be honest. Just a nice 4-cost 5K that you can get out of your life for free later in the game, whether you're playing Bello Betty or whether you're playing Red Yellow Sabo. I don't know how much I love this. I'm not a huge fan of this card. I don't love it. But at the same time, I'll take all the extra, trigger, potential trigger cards that I can get for Revo Army in the red-yellow color pool. With that in mind, I do think this will probably be able to tap down. Most often, more often than not, it'll probably be able to tap down like a 4-cost or less. It's probably roughly like where it will peak at and then go down from there gradually over the game. But hey, it's better than nothing, right? It's a solid utility character. I'm going to give this one a rating of, I'm going to give it a 7 out of 10 because it's better than your average 4-cost. I mean, okay, unless, how do I say this? I think it's better than your average 4-cost, 6,000 power, 1K counter vanilla card because it's only 1,000 power under that, but it's still at a break point where you can very easily swing for 5 into the opponent's leader if it's a standard 5,000 power leader. But on top of that, you have this upside of being able to rest down your opponent's character throughout the game. And then you also have the potential to get this from your life for free from the trigger. So it's one of those cards that kind of just has it all. It hits a break point of 5,000 for the power. It costs 4 or less. It has a 1,000 counter. It has a when attacking effect. And it has a decent trigger if you're in the appropriate deck. I would consider this like a 7 out of 10. Pretty solid card. Let me scooch up. There we go. Next up, we have 5-cost, 7,000 power, 1K counter, Supernova Fallen Pirates type character Uroge here. This is a vanilla. I give all vanillas the same score of 5 out of 10. Very average, solid card. Next up is Emporio Ivankov. So this is a 5-cost, 6,000 power, 1K counter, Revo Army type card, of course. And the effect is activate main once per turn. Up to 3 of your Revolutionary Army type characters gain plus 1,000 power during this turn. Then add 1 card from the top of your life cards to your hand. Wow. Okay, let me read that one more time real slowly here. Activate main once per turn. Excuse me. Up to 3 of your Revolutionary Army type characters gain plus 1,000 power during this turn. Then add 1 card from the top of your life cards to your hand. So this is really good in Red Yellow Sabo. I can tell you right now, in Red Yellow Sabo, this is a very strong card. But the only unfortunate part is it's already stealing. How do I say this? It's already stealing the same spot as another insanely powerful red card, or excuse me, 5-cost card in the red Emporio Ivankov. That is the only downside to this card. I'm sure it's probably good in Bello Betty as well. But it says, okay, hang on a second. Up to for the activate main, the life part of it is at the very end. It says then add 1 card from the top of your life cards to your hand. So if I'm not mistaken, someone correct me in the comment section if I'm wrong. I believe you can do this effect And then if you have no life cards, so you'll activate main once per turn, do this effect, and then you're going to add one card from the top of your life cards to your hand. But if you have no life, I think it will still work because the effect is before the then clause. I'm pretty sure that's how it will work. So maybe this will just be one of those insane finisher cards for Bello Betty, or it might even be just a good card for Bello Betty going against decks like Nami. Not that deck needs any extra help against Nami. It's one of the better it's one of the better decks against Nami. However, this card I do think is very strong. It's a 5-cost 6k 1k counter that is going to potentially every single turn it could potentially buff your board plus 3,000 power return. And for those who might be wondering, like, yeah, but you're losing a life card every time, right? But remember what Red Yellow Sabo is going to do. Right now, I know Bello Betty matters too, but Bello Betty doesn't care about losing life. It's all in. It's more of a glass cannon style build, very hyper aggro. But even in a more mid-range to controlling deck like Sabo, this card, you're going to be able to use its effect, smash in for 7s, and then using cards like the new Inazuma we just saw, and like the new Kuma in OP09, and cards like that, you're going to be able to very easily put those cards into your life, so that way when your opponent attacks you next turn, that card's coming straight back into play without any strings attached. Really, really powerful effect here. I'm a big fan of this card. I'm going to give it a 7.5 out of 10, though, because, like I said, the biggest issue with this card is it's in a 5-cost spot, and that is extremely... There's a lot of traffic in that cost range, I have to say, guys, because there's 5-cost Nami, there's 5-cost Luffy, there's 5-cost the red Ivankov, like I mentioned earlier. That is this card's only downside, is it's in the presence of other great cards in the same cost slot. But still very, very strong. I'll give it a 7.5 out of 10. Very, very good card. I cannot wait to mess with this card. Next up, we have Capone Gang Bege. This is a 1-cost, 0-power, 2k counter, Supernova Fire Tank Pirates type character. It has the effect of, on play, you may add one card from the top or bottom of your life cards to your hand, and then add up to one Supernova type character card from your hand to the top of your life cards, face up. So this is a great utility 2k counter, I have to say. In my mind, I'm immediately going to the idea of like running this in Red Yellow Sabo. So guys, I'm probably going to mention Red Yellow Sabo many, many times in today's video, just like I think I did for the red cards, because that's my main deck. That's the deck that I main, and it's the one I feature the most on the channel. So of course, that's going to be the #1 processing. Those are the thoughts that are going to be processing through my mind when I look at these yellow cards. And I have to say, the 5-cost 6,000 power Rush Luffy, the Supernova Rush Luffy. Well, I kind of spoiled it. I was gonna say he is a Supernova card, so you're gonna be able to potentially go, okay, turn, whenever, let's just say it's like turn 5 or 6. Let's not say turn 1, but let's just say turn 5, turn 6, turn 7, somewhere later in the game, you can go, okay, play out this card, take your top life card, or you could take the top or bottom card from your life, but then add a Supernova type character card from your hand to the top of your life cards face up. Okay, I'll make the 5-cost 6k Rush Luffy, and then I can play out the 2-cost Luffy. So I've invested 3 Dawn altogether. I'll play out the 2-cost Goa Kingdom Yellow Luffy, and then I will cheat that Luffy into play, and then I'll attach 1, 2, 3, however much I have left for the turn, to smash into face, and as long as I have 1 Dawn left for the leader, I'll just put him back into life. And so I just smashed in there. My leader's plus 2,000 power for the turn. I'm going to smash in with him now, and I have that card at the top of my life. And if you want to attack into me, it's going to come into my hand, and now I'm going to smash into you next turn with it again, just straight from hand, because I'll have more Dawn. So I think this is going to be a really fun card to play with. I'll say this, a little bit of a spoiler for today's video. I think Supernova might have a place in Red Yellow Sabo. Like, I would not be surprised if me and many other people come up with a Supernova version of Red Yellow Sabo going into OP10. And I think it could be pretty decent, but we'll talk more about that as we get into it. As far as this card goes, though, this is just a very solid 2k counter, has the ability to change cards out of life. This is very relevant within yellow, even though it is fixed to Supernova types. And because of that, I'll give this just a nice 7.5 out of 10. It is a little bit limiting, but at the end of the day, it's at least a 2k counter. You can always use it for that. And then, at best, you're going to be able to set up insane combos with, like, Red Yellow Sabo or, Green Yellow Law, the new Green Yellow Law coming out in this set. Okay, 7.5 out of 10, solid card. Next up we have Caribou. This is a 4-cost, 5,000 power, 1k counter, Supernova Caribou Pirates type character. The effect is Dawn ×1 if your leader has the Supernova type and your opponent has 3 or more life cards. This character cannot be KO'd in battle. I'm not like head over heels with this card, that's for sure. It's not a bad card, but it is very limited. It's very restricted. So this is like, okay, if in other words, if your leader is not Supernova, right? If your leader's not Supernova, this is just a worse than average vanilla card. However, if your leader is Supernova, which how many yellow Supernova leaders are there? I think we have black, yellow Luffy. We'll have green, yellow Law in OP10. And then yellow Kid. I think that might be it. I could be wrong. I might be missing one other. But we're talking about yellow Supernova leaders. So because of that, it's very restricted. And I'm going to have to give this one like 2 separate ratings because of how exclusive it is. Because I always like to say this, but in a vacuum, on paper, without having a Supernova leader, this is a below average card. It would be like a 3 out of 10 or a 4 out of 10. However, in a Supernova deck, attaching 1 Dawn to it still barely makes it better than average, in my opinion, because it just says it can't be KO'd in battle, not by effects. So I'm just going to give this a 5 out of 10. I'm just going to settle with a 5 out of 10. And that's in a Supernova deck. Outside of a Supernova leader deck, yeah, this card's just not great at all. Okay, Cavendish. Very nice. We got a vanilla here. A 6-cost, 8,000 power, 1k counter. This is a Dressrosa, Supernova, Beautiful Pirates type character. 5 out of 10. Next up is Killer. We have a 3-cost, 5,000 power, Supernova Kid Pirates type character. No counter. The effect is on KO if your leader has the Supernova type. Oh, man. The exclusivity, guys. I can't stand it. If your leader has the Supernova type, look at 3 cards from the top of your deck and reveal up to 1 Supernova or Kid Pirates type card and add it to your hand. Then place the rest at the bottom of your deck in any order. So here's my thing. Like, I don't know if it's going to get to this point in the future, and it's kind of why I made, why I started making up a new game mode. How do I say this? I don't like that certain cards are locked to leaders, like they probably should be. Let's be honest. Every card probably should be locked to a type, and that is whatever the type is of your leader. Whatever types your leader shares, that should be all that's included in your deck. But now, instead, it's like we have some cards that do that, some cards that don't. It's just kind of annoying for me as a deck builder. It's like, okay, make up your mind. Because this effect is not powerful enough to lock to a type, in my personal opinion. This is a 3-cost, 5,000 power character, no counter. So, okay, it's like a vanilla minus the 1k counter with the potential upside of if it gets KO'd, you could do a top 3 search for a Supernova type character. Because think about it like this, guys. There's already, a Supernova or Kid Pirates type card. But here's the thing. Think about Parasparrow. Parasparrow is a 3-cost, 5,000 power character that has on KO, do a top 3 search of a Big Mom Pirates card, and then it also has trigger, trash a card and play this card. So are they going to go back and errata that card to make it where you remove the trigger effect and also make the KO where you have to have a Big Mom Pirates type leader? Because if you're not, then I don't understand why this card had to be locked. I'm going to give this card a 5 out of 10 because it's at least a 3-cost 5k. But again, I have to give like a separate rating where it's like, okay, if this was not in the Supernova Pirates, a Supernova type deck, well, now it's like a 3 out of 5 or a 4 out of 5 because it's not as good as a vanilla and you have no on KO searchability from it. So I'm going to give this, like, outside of Supernova, this is a 3.5 out of 10. But inside a Supernova deck, I guess I'll at least give it like a 6 out of 10. But I think most of the time, guys, this is going to get bounced back to hand with Dofi. This is going to get trashed with a black card. Or guess what? It might just get completely ignored. It might just get completely ignored. So I'm not a huge fan of this idea of restricting this because, okay, I'm gonna be biased and go like, okay, why can't I just run this in Red Yellow Sabo? Why does it have to be locked to a Supernova leader? Because in Red Yellow Sabo, if I wanted to mess around with a Supernova package within that deck, this card would be perfect, even though it doesn't have a trigger, because this could be the card that I slap down on the board and say, be my guest, KO it if you want to, because I'll do a top search. But it can't. Your leader has to be Supernova type. I'm just really disappointed with card design like this, especially with a card like this. But then it doesn't exist with a card like Gecko Moria. And then it doesn't exist with a card like Parasparrow, which Parasparrow is like a 1-to-1 comparison, right? 3 cost 5k, an on KO, and it has trigger, and it's not locked to anything. All right, I'll end my rant. I'm just going to give this, like I said, if you're not in a Kid Pirates, or excuse me, if you're not in a Supernova deck, this is like a 3.5 and a 5. But if you are in a Supernova deck, this is probably like a 6.5, a 6 to a 6.5 out of 10. I know I said 5 at first, but I'll give it a 6 or 6.5 out of 10. Okay, next up is Jory Bonney. I'm going to take a sip of my water real quick, guys. Give me just a moment. Okay. So next up here we have Jory Bonney. This is a 3 cost, 4,000 power, 1k counter, Supernova, Bonney Pirates type blocker. I like that already. And then the on play is you may add 1 card from the top or bottom of your life cards to your hand, and then add up to 1 Supernova type character card with a cost of 5 from your hand to the top of your life cards face up. See, now that I'm okay with when you're locking types, like with searchers. Searchers can only search up certain types usually, right? And that would be, and I like how this card is revealed up to 1 Supernova or Kid Pirates type. That part's fine. But locking the leader, that's where I get very, very annoyed. That's where I become very annoyed. And I'm glad this card does not do that, because again, this is a 3 cost, 4,000 power, 1k counter blocker with very high utility, allowing you to add 1 card from the top or bottom of your life cards to your hand, and then add up to 1 Supernova type card, type character card with a cost of 5 from your hand to the top of your life cards face up. So you're going to be able to cheat a card into your, well, not cheat, but you'll be able to take a card from your life and replace it, and then do any kind of effects from there. Put these cards in that are potentially like trigger cards and stuff like that. And yes, it can only be a Supernova type card, but that's fine. This card I'm a big fan of. It has a lot of utility. It's a 3 cost, 4,000 power, 1k counter blocker package. So that's just like the 3 cost, 4k, 1k counter blocker Dofi, but in the yellow cards. I think this is a great card. I'll give this like a 7.5 out of 10, and it's pushing 8 out of 10. Really solid card. Next up, we have Scratchman Apoo. This is a 1 cost, 1,000 power, 1k counter, Supernova on Air Pirates type, and it has, if you have a yellow Supernova type character other than Scratchman Apoo, this character gains blocker. Okay, I'm just going to give this a little 6 out of 10. This is nothing crazy. This is meant to be a utility blocker. It's not like a game breaking, but it could potentially win you a game. You never know, right? In case if you just needed a 1 cost blocker and you had a whole 9 Dawn play figured out, you slam this down and now you have a blocker. Seems good. Not crazy. Also not exactly great, but it's not bad either. And it's a 1k counter in hand at the end of the day. I'm going to give this card a nice, like I said, I'm going to give it like a 6 out of 10. Okay, next up we have Basil Hawkins. Now I do know about this card already, and I can't wait to talk about this one. Basil Hawkins is a 4 cost, 5,000 power, Supernova Hawkins Pirates type character. The effect is on KO, trash up to 1 card from the top of your opponent's life cards. Trigger, draw 2, trash 1. Guys, this card is beautiful. This card is absolutely incredible. It is just a great overall generically yellow card. It is a 4 cost 5k with a 1k counter with a trigger. Okay, the trigger is draw 2, trash 1. It doesn't put a body on the board, so that part is very fair. But get this, guys, the on KO, if they KO this guy, if they attack into him and KO him, they're losing a life card. I think this card is excellent, and this might become one of those yellow staple cards you just kind of see in every single yellow deck, especially Supernova stuff. But, I mean, there's going to be exceptions, right? Like, Enel probably doesn't need this card. Who knows? It might still run it. But Enel probably doesn't need this card. Black, yellow, Luffy. I'm not saying it's going to be in every yellow deck, but I'm saying it could go in any yellow deck and still be just fine. And I'll tell you what, Red, Yellow, Sabo, like I said earlier, guys, I'm already considering putting together, I'm sure I'm going to do it at some point, but I will be messing with a Red, Yellow, Supernova Sabo idea. And this card will go in there immediately because it's going to be one of those cards where I can just attack with it on the board. If they want to KO it, they can trash a life card. It's fine by me. It also fits a very natural curve in yellow where it's going to be like, let's say you're going second. Turn 1, we'll have to work on that later, but turn 2, straight into Basil Hawkins. Turn 3, Nika, Robin, the 6 cost 6K that makes them trash a life card if they have 3 or more life. And then 8, we'll talk about when we get into it in the video. So it's one of those situations where the card is just so good at playing on curve. It's just a great card to just slam down. You don't have to put any thought into it. You go, oh, 4 Dawn turn, 4 Dawn card, slam it, and you're good to go. And then there's one other leader that I think will get a lot of value out of this card. It's a good old-fashioned green-yellow, not Trafalgar Law. I mean, he might get value from it too. Arlong. Guys, Arlong, cheating this guy out, just smashing it. Now we have 3 legitimate 4-cost targets, in my opinion, for Arlong. And it's like, okay, Kikinojo was always number 1, right? Kikinojo has been the best 4-cost 6K to pop out for Arlong, probably since Arlong's been I think Arlong might have came into the game first and then Kikinojo. But as soon as Kikinojo came out, it became like, yep, that card's going in, right? But now we have that card and the 4-cost 6K Arlong green character that can lock down an attack. And now we have this guy. Whew, guys, I mean, that's bringing a lot of heat. We're bringing a lot of heat like that. And this is just a great card. I think it's very solid. And then it also has the back, the trigger on the back end. It's just very limited downside to this card. Back to the red yellow Sabo example, like, okay, slam this down, next turn slam down Nika, Robin, smash in for 5 with leader, and then on the following turn, if I have any kind of Dawn to play with, it's going to be like, okay, swinging for 7 with Basil Hawkins, swinging for 7 with Nika, Robin, swinging for 7 with leader, and then who knows, maybe something I could have pushed Dawn around in more ways as well. But here's the thing, like, oh, they're down to 0 life now. Well, now if they KO him, it doesn't matter. Nope, I'll just push him into my life with my leader effect, and then I'll draw 2 trash one when they hit me. It seems so good, guys. It seems so good. Cannot wait to get my hands on this. This card, I'm giving a 9 out of 10. There is no downside to play the card. It's a 4-cost 5K, 1K counter. On KO, trashes a life. That is serious removal there, right? And then the trigger, draw 2, trash 1. There's no actual downside. It's like a vanilla card with all upsides. The only thing that it doesn't have on a vanilla is minus 1,000 power, but then with 2 extremely relevant effects on the other side of it with the trigger and the effect. Really, really incredible card. Lowest side goes an 8.5 out of 10 if I'm trying to be more conservative, more modest. Okay, next up we have Heat and Wire. This is a 3-cost, 4,000 power, 1K counter, Kid Pirates type card. This is one of those with multiple attributes. It's a slash. It's a slash and special attribute. I was going to say a slash special character, but no, it has the attributes of slash and special. And the effect is on play, rest up to one of your opponent's characters with a cost equal to or less than the number of your opponent's life cards. And then the trigger is if you have 2 or less life cards, play this card. So this is kind of, the trigger is kind of like Braum, I believe, from Sky Island or Shandian Warriors or whatever he is. Not bad. This is just a great 3-cost, 4,000 power, 1K counter trigger card that can come into play for a certain situation of having 2 or less life. The effect is on play, rest up to one of your opponent's characters with a cost equal to or less than the number on your opponent's, equal to or less than the number of your opponent's life cards. So it's not you and your opponent's life cards, unfortunately, but still being able to play that down and potentially rest a blocker, smash into the board and things like that. It's not a bad card. It has utility. Nothing crazy. I'll give this a 6.5 out of 10. Nothing insane, but still a very solid card, and that trigger is just excellent. And see, here's the real difference, right? Like when we were talking about the last card, Basil Hawkins, this is like, okay, for a vanilla, you'd expect the 3-cost 5K with a 1K counter. So why didn't I give this card a 8.5 out of 10 or a 9 out of 10? Well, the simple fact of the matter is the difference in the trigger and the on play in this case versus the on KO in the other. Like for example, in this situation here, that on play effect is extremely. It's not limited. I don't want to say it's limited because early on is when you're going to want to play this card out to tap something down, or later in the game to tap down a blocker, a small like 1 or 2 cost blocker. But then you get to the trigger and it's very situational. Well, this card's trigger is not situational, right? This card's trigger isn't situational, and the on KO is not situational either if you think about it, because it's like, well, wait a minute. If they have no life cards left, then I'm just winning the game. right? If they're attacking into this character and they have no life cards left, I'm in a very good position, right? So it's like there's almost like there's no downside. I mean, yeah, technically, if they have 0 cards in life and they decide to attack or KO this character, sure, they didn't lose a life card, but they just used removal on this character and not one of my other characters. So I just feel like there's like no downside to this card. Whereas this one, I feel like it's very situational. The trigger doesn't even work unless you have 2 or less life cards. And then the effect doesn't work if your opponent has no life, but on top of that, you know, that's when you need it to work, is later in the game. Like, this is the kind of card, okay, you either play it early on, or you probably play it in the mid-game, but at the late game, you can't even play this card, right? Because it's just not going to have an effect, more than likely. It might not, but hopefully you guys see what I'm saying. But either way, I'm going to give this a 6.5 out of 10. Still a very strong card. I just don't think it's anywhere near the same power level as Basil Hawkins, especially being that 4-cost 5,000 power baseline body. This character, you'll always have to attach 1 Dawn to be able to swing into a 5k body. Okay, still very good, though. Okay, next up we have 1 cost. This is Monkey D. Luffy. It's a 1 cost, 2,000 power, 1k counter, Supernova, Straw Hat Crew type character. The effect is on play. Look at 5 cards from the top of your deck. Reveal up to 1 Supernova type card other than Monkey D. Luffy and add it to your hand. Then place the rest at the bottom of your deck in any order. I'm so upset with this card, guys. They did that. This was deliberate. This was, you know, it's like from the Lord of the Rings scene, the Lord of the Rings scene with what's his name, with Gimli. It was deliberate. It was deliberate. No, seriously, this was absolutely deliberate on the part of Bandai and Cardass. This is a Luffy card, right? Oh man, I can't search up any Supernovas named Monkey D. Luffy, huh? Can you guys think of any 5-cost red Rush Monkey D. Luffy cards that are Supernova? Yeah, that this will not be able to grab. And so when I see this card, it infuriates me. It absolutely infuriates me that they made this into a Monkey D. Luffy card. I know that's biased. I'm a red, yellow Sabo main, so of course I'm thinking about that. But the card is still excellent. The card is still exceptional. It's a very, very strong searcher. I'm going to give it a 7 out of 10. That's what I give most searchers anyway. Nothing crazy. I want to give it a 5 out of 10, but no, seriously, in all seriousness, I think this is like a 6.5 or 7 out of 10. Just a solid searcher for Supernova Pirates. Or for Supernova type cards, but unfortunately, it cannot grab very important pieces to most decks that are Supernova and cards you'd want to run potentially in this deck, because I think even the 5-cost buff Luffy that Black Yellow Luffy runs, I think even he is Supernova, and you would not be able to search it up with this card. Very frustrating. Oh well, still a good card. I'm going to give it a 7 out of 10. Okay, I think we got our first alt art. I think this is the first alt art we've seen so far for Luffy. This one looks awesome. All these, you know, he's attacking so quickly. All the punches look like they're at the same place at the same time. Really cool stuff. Okay. All right. This is a card I've been wanting to talk about the entire time. I'm like, when's it coming up? When's it coming up? Okay, let me sit up my seat. So this is Eustass Captain Kidd. This is an 8-cost, 9,000 power character. Supernova Pirate, or Supernova and Kid Pirates type. And the effect is on play. You may rest this character, trash up to 1 card from the top of your opponent's life cards. So remember what I was saying earlier, guys. We'll go Basil Hawkins, and now if you KO him, you'll trash a card. Then we'll go on a 4-6-8 curve, right? 4-cost Basil Hawkins. I'm threatening to trash their life if it gets KO'd. Nico Robin for 6 Dawn. On play, trash the top card of their life if they have 3 or more cards in their life. And then 8 Dawn, Eustass Kidd, rest it down, trash a card. That is like 3 potential life trashing cards in a row, and this is an 8-cost 9k. So be my guest, attack into this if you want to. I'm so happy they did not lock this card. On play, like I said, you may rest this character, trash up to 1 card from the top of your opponent's life cards, and then end of your turn, it has another effect. If your opponent has 2 or less life cards, draw 1 card and trash 1 card from your hand. So if they have 2 or less life cards, draw 1, trash 1. Seems good. Seems pretty good to me, guys. And this is also the kind of character where I don't think you're going to have any problem just chaining these together. If you have any type of board, you're going to be able to just chain these together, especially in something like a red-yellow Sabo, where it's like, okay, let's just say I did the curve I just said. Like, okay, perfect curve. And if I hit any triggers along the way, even better. But let's go 4 Dawn Basil, 6 Dawn Nico, 8 Dawn Eustass Kidd. If I go down in life because they're attacking into my life the whole time, well, maybe I go down to like 1 or 2 life, right? Okay, well, how's about this? I will smash in with all my characters, right? and when they're down to 1 life card, I'll play out another Eustass Kid, and then I'll use my 1 Dawn and life him. Or actually, if I'm on a 10 Dawn turn, if I have a 10 Dawn turn, I have the Nico Robin still on the board, this is how that turn could look. It's like attach, so swing for 5 with Basil Hawkins, swing for 7 with Nico Robin, attach 1 Dawn to Nico Robin, swing for 9 with Eustass Kid, and swing for 6 with the leader. I did that out of order, whatever. Actually, I did it way out of order because I'll need to push a card back to life and everything, but hear me out. You'll be able to swing with the Basil Hawkins, swing with the Nico Robin, swing with the Eustass Kid, and then play out the other Eustass Kid when they have 1 life left, and then life one of those cards that has 7,000 power or more, and now you're just smashing in for even bigger numbers. You're making them lose life, and you're going up in life. It just... very limited downside, guys. So I think the way that turn would actually go, so let's try it one more time, guys. Bear with me. It would be swing 7 with the Nico Robin first, believe it or not. Attach 1 Dawn to Nico Robin, swing 7. Now, attach 1 Dawn to your leader, push the Nico Robin to your life, give plus 2,000 to the Basil Hawkins, swing 6 with your leader. So I guess you could have swung 6 with leader. I keep messing it up, guys. I keep messing it up. So it would have been leader first. But then, swing with the Basil Hawkins, swing with the Eustass Captain Kid, and then play out the other Eustass Captain Kid. And if at any point along the way they were down to 1 life, that's when you slam down the other Eustass Kid, and then you swing for the rest of your cards. This seems like an incredible card, and you're going to be drawing a card and trashing a card in a turn to cycle out the bad cards in your hand. Almost no downside to this card. I mean, again, what's the downside when the on play doesn't do anything because they have no life left? Okay, that seems fine to me, because then it still is going to allow you to draw a card and trash a card at the end of your turn while establishing a 9k body, and it's a card that a deck like Sabo can push to your life, and other leaders can abuse it as well. I mean, if you needed to, you could push this to your life with like a Katakuri, no matter what yellow deck you're running. I'm a huge fan of this card. I'm going to give it a 9 out of 10. Some people might think that's crazy. That's fine. I already admitted I'm a little bit biased when it comes to red, yellow, Sabo. That's my main. I think this card is insane, though. I think it's going to go in any yellow deck going forward. I would not be surprised to start seeing this in Katakuri, because now your curve... Okay, this could be your potential curve with Big Mom Pirates in Katakuri going forward. Even on an even curve, Basil Hawkins into 6 cost... You can go 6 cost Linlin or the Nico Robin or the new 6 cost Linlin from ST20 or whatever it is. Then 8 Dawn this, 10 Dawn Big Mom. They're losing life every single turn without you even swinging. So, I mean, I don't see how it could be a bad thing. We'll have to see. It's not searchable. Hey, that's the one downside, right? Oh, man, it's not Big Mom Pirate searchable, but who cares? The card is outrageously good, in my opinion. I'm giving it a 9 out of 10. Really strong. Okay, there's the alt art. I'm not a huge fan of this. I'm a huge fan of the color scheme. I think the colors are beautiful, and they're incredible. But, man, this one... That angle, we're looking up at Eustass Kid here. This looks awesome. I just thought about this, guys. We're going back real quick. Hang on a second. He's a 9,000 power card, right? Let me go back to red real quick. We've already looked at these. Don't worry. Let's look at Divine Departure. This can only pop an 8,000 power or less character. Okay, so the new Eustass Kid we were just looking at. Let me go back to yellow now. Whoops, let me get out of the red. Search yellow. And... guys, the new Eustass Kid card is out of range of Divine Departure, which is actually surprisingly relevant, right? Like, that's actually very relevant because they come out in the same set. Very strong card. I don't know why that just popped in my head. Like, when I was looking at this angle, I started thinking of Divine Departure. I was like, man, I hope this isn't the part where he just gets absolutely, don't want to give any spoilers. Okay, so really awesome art. Love this one. This one's good, too, for the colors, but I'm not as big a fan of the composition. Okay, next up we have Zoro. This is a 3-cost, 5,000 power Zoro Supernova Straw Hat type. The effect is if you have less life than your opponent, this character gains Rush. Trigger. You may trash 1 card from your hand, and if your leader has a Supernova type, play this card. Those triggers, guys. Still a very strong card, I have to say. And this is probably going to be pretty decent in something like Arlong if you need a card against, like, let's just say Dofi or something, where it's like, okay, well, no, see, here's the thing. Even if you're going first against Dofi, right, you're going to have 4 life. Turn 1 pass, they're going to go turn 1 searcher. Turn 2, if we swing for 7 with leader and cheat this card out, hang on, how does that work? Like, when he comes, it's not an on-play effect. It is a static effect. So when he comes into play, it will not be an on-play. He gains Rush for the turn. It's just if you have less life cards than your opponent, this character gains rush. So in other words, so you slam this guy out for, with your leader effect on Arlong, and if they take the hit to go down to 4, they'd be very wise to take the hit, because otherwise you can swing it for 5 with this card as well. Unless they want you to swing it with that card so they can start attacking into the board. The trigger is not great in something like Arlong, obviously, but you can still cheat out with your leader effect because it is a card with trigger. Not from life, but with the leader effect. Solid card, though. 3 cost 5k. It's still just good. It's still just a good card. And to be safe, if you were on that play, the line of play I was just saying, just swing with Zoro first, then swing with Arlong. It kind of has the same effect. You just get 2 attacks and a body for them to attack into. But other than that, very strong, very solid card. It's a 3 cost 5k potential rush card with a trigger. I would still consider the 3 cost 5k red rush Zoro just strictly better because there's no condition on it. It doesn't have a trigger, but it just unconditionally always has rush. So I'll still give this like I'll give this like a 7 out of 10. I think it's still a very highly versatile card. But the fact that it doesn't have a counter and it might not have rush later in the game, it does push. I'll put it down to a 6 out of 10. I'm going to put it at like a 6 or 6.5 out of 10. Still a very good card though. Okay, next up is X.Drake. X.Drake is a 3 cost, 3000 power, 2k counter, Supernova, Navy, Drake Pirates type character. It has the effect of activate main. You may rest this character. If the number of your life cards is equal to or less than the number of your opponent's life cards, rest up to 1 of your opponent's characters with a cost of 4 or less. It is a situational way of resting down your opponent's cost 4 or lower character. I do think this is still very good, though. It's a 2k counter with a potentially very powerful upside. And this card, that activate main, is every single turn, right? Like, you'll be able to do that every single turn. It's also not once per turn, for what it's worth. That's interesting. If you have a way to stand it, hang on, I'm trying to think. Maybe you get... I'm trying to think of like some crazy way you could cheat this character, have him rest 2 characters at once or something. Maybe with a 5 cost restand law or something along those lines. Or pull him back with the 5 cost blocker law to replay him and do it again. There's some cool tricks you could probably do with this guy. And if he sits on the board, then he does get value over the course of the game. He'll just keep getting value. He's a 2k counter in hand. But I will say this. Back to the example I was just saying, that would be very situational, guys. Because if you're trying to use it like that, you better win the game on that turn. But other than that, if you use him early on, which is not a bad idea either, they have to attack into this, and then he works as like a 2k counter anyway. Or else you're going to keep getting more and more value from this card if your life stays at equal to or below your opponent's. Good stuff, guys. I'm going to give this an 8 out of 10. This is actually a very, very useful 2k counter. A very useful 2k counter. Okay, we're over to the events. We're doing pretty good on time. So this is called Let's Meet Again in the New World. This is a 2 cost Supernova Kid Pirates type of event. It is a counter of up to 1 of your leader or character cards gains plus 4,000 power during this battle. Then, if you have 0 life cards, draw a card. Trigger, you can KO up to 1 of your opponent's characters with a cost equal to or less than the number of your opponent's life cards. That's pretty good, guys. It's a 2 cost 4K. That could potentially draw you a card if you have 0 life. The trigger is okay. I don't see the trigger being that crazy unless it's the first, how do I say this? If it's like your first trigger and your opponent still has like 4 or 5 life, then I could see it being very strong then. But I guess after that, then you can use it for the counter. Pretty solid. I think it's a solid. I'll give it a 7 out of 10. I don't think it's anything crazy. It's basically, I think most times it will just be a 2 cost 4K. I think that's what it will be most of the time. But a potentially decent trigger and a potential way to draw a card if you have 0 life. It's got some upside to it. I'm going to give it a nice 7 out of 10. Next up is Damned Punk. Okay. I think, okay, this is him blasting Big Mom. I take offense to that. Okay, Black Yellow Linlin, of course, being one of my absolute original go-to main decks, that I featured on the channel. But no, seriously, this is a really cool art in this one. It is a 4 cost Supernova Kid Pirates type event, and the effect is main. Look at up to 1 card from the top of your or your opponent's life cards and place it at the top or bottom of the life cards. So Katakuri effect. And then it also has, then KO up to 1 of your opponent's characters with a cost of 5 or less. Trigger, draw 2, trash 1. So this is actually just a very useful, very versatile card. I'm a big fan of this, and I love the art. that pink blast just looks awesome, and the way they did the it's like so they drew the piece and then they just highlighted all the black lines with whatever color was appropriate for whatever the object or action was. Looks really cool. I remember I used to do this as a kid, or I not even just as a kid, like even when I was younger, just in school, and in like high school and college. Whenever I would color in coloring books, whenever there was lines like this, I wouldn't actually just color, right? I would trace the line with whatever color I wanted it, very, very hard tracing, and then I would very softly shade in on the inside of it. They kept it white. It still looks really good, but very cool effect here. Love the art. Trigger, draw 2, trash 1, 4 cost, pop a 5 or less, and you have an upside of arranging life cards around. Yep. Seems good, guys. Seems really, really good. I will give this... I'm going to give it a 7.5 out of 10. I think this is actually a really, really nice card. Very high utility. It might deserve an 8 out of 10, to be honest. Just popping a 5 or less for 4 Dawn. We'll take it every time. Really good stuff. It's like they reprinted Reject and made it something fair or something. That's kind of the way I see this card. Not saying it's as good as Reject. I'm saying that they made it different, made it more fair. Okay, next up we have Room. This is a 1-cost event. It is a Supernova Heart Pirates type event. The effect is counter. If you have... Hang on one second. I just thought... Oh, yeah, that one is a counter. I was going to say, wait a minute, was that a main effect? I got a little confused with this. Then it would not be good at all. Then I gave this a totally different score. I guess it wouldn't have been bad, but it would have been totally different. Okay. So counter, if you have 1 or less life cards, up to one of your leader or character cards gains plus 3,000 power during this battle. Then set up to one of your characters with a cost of 5 or less as active. If you have 1 or less life cards, up to one of your leader or character cards gains plus 3,000 power during this battle. Then set up to one of your characters with a cost of 5 or less as active. Trigger, draw a card. This card's great. Guys, this card's excellent. Of course, I'm considering Red Yellow Sabo right now too, guys. I'm thinking about putting down a blocker, buffing him for the turn, and then, like pushing a card back to life, buffing my blocker on the board, and then blocking with the blocker and, buffing it to get it out of whatever the attack was, and then standing it, and then using the blocker again. There's a lot of potential there. There's a lot of cool stuff we could do there. Very, very strong card, though. I'm a big fan. I'm going to give this like a 7.5 out of 10. I think this is a great card. Okay, and here's another card I really wanted to talk about. Okay. Trafalgar Law. We got a 7-cost, 9,000 power, Dressrosa, Supernova, Heart Pirates type character. The effect is on play, reveal up to 1 Supernova type character card from your hand and add it to the top of your life cards face down. Excuse me. Then give up to 1 Rested Dawn card to one of your Supernova type leaders. That's whatever. We can't use that part in Red Yellow Sabo, but no, seriously, that will be very good in Eustass Kid and in Trafalgar Law, the new Supernova leaders coming out in OP10. But other than that, guys, this card, solid, absolutely solid. It has on play, so you're going to reveal a Supernova type character card from your hand and add it to the top of your life cards face down. So you're going to ramp a life, right? You're going to develop a 7-cost 9K. You're going to gain a life if you have Supernova cards, obviously, to put into your life. So you're going to gain a life, develop a 7-cost 9K, your turn. And that was all for 7 Dawn. And guys, in the decks that, that this was meant for, you're buffing your leader by plus 1,000 for the turn as well, attaching a Dawn to it, which also helps with effects. So really, really strong card here. I'm giving this an 8.5 out of 10. I don't think it's like broken or anything like that. There will be really cool stuff that decks can do with this leader for sure. There's going to be some really cool stuff people can do with this. But I don't know if I can give it... I don't think it's on the same level as our guy Eustass Kid. You guys tell me what y'all think in the comment section below. Do you think Eustass Captain Kid or Trafalgar Law, the 8 cost and the 7 cost, which one do you think is better and why? It doesn't have to be like an argument, or anything like that. Let's keep it civil down there. But guys, I think this card is incredible, but I do think that the 8 cost Eustass Kid is slightly better. But gaining a life for 7 Dawn while developing a body this large is no joke. And the fact that it is a 7-cost card is actually very, very relevant because that gets around things like Gravity Blade, Raging Tiger. So very, very powerful card here. you're gaining life. You're developing a body. I don't know what else I can say. I'm just beating a dead horse at this point. But guys, this card is incredible. Very, very big fan of this card. I'm going to give it an 8.5 out of 10. I give it just under what I give Eustass, Captain Kidd, the A cost. Okay, then we got the alt art for it. This is the this looks awesome. We got the little logo in the background there of you know, Trafalgar Law's the Heart Pirates thing. Excuse me. And the manga, man. I'm a huge fan of this manga. A lot of the mangas I'm not a big fan of when they come out. I mean, hey, I'll take any of them and sell them right away, right? That's one thing. Hey, if I ever got one, I would take it. I would sell it as soon as I could. But no, I think this one looks really good. I just love the white, black, and yellow look. That's the theme of, you know, those are that's the color theme of the channel, right? White, black, and gold. Those are my colors. Looks really good. Big fan of how this is and of how this looks. Really awesome card. Okay, and then we have the alt art here, so we're almost done. Charlotte Flampe. This is a very high utility, 1 cost, 2K counter. This will see a lot of play, I'm sure. This is the one where you take a card from the top or bottom of your life, and you draw a card from the top of your deck. So pay 1, draw 2, with a 2K counter. Probably a 9.5 out of 10 or something, guys. One of the best utility 2K counters in the game. So good, so good. Okay, then back to the leaders. So just to summarize, guys, not trying to rhyme here, but just to summarize, we got Inazuma and Emporio Ivankov coming in for Revo Army from OP10. These look very strong. I cannot wait to mess around with these. Gang Bege, just an incredible utility 2K counter. Caribou, I was not really big on. Cavendish, just a vanilla. Killer, I was very, very disappointed with how they decided to develop this card, with it being so similar in effect to Perospero, but being so wildly nerfed. Not a huge fan of that. Then we have Bonney. This was a great utility blocker. Apoo, another great utility blocker, 2 in a row. Basil Hawkins, I cannot wait to get my hands on this card. Extremely strong tempo play. Has not evasion, but has like card insurance, where it's like, okay, I'm gonna swing for 5, get a card out of your hand, get a card out of your hand. If you attack into me, you're trashing a life card. We'll take it every time. Heat and Wire was okay, nothing too crazy here. Did have some utility. Monkey D. Luffy, the Searcher, awesome alt art card, alt art for the card. Eustass, Captain Kidd, I think this is the best looking card from Yellow easily. Zoro, a potentially really good rusher, especially early on for the four life leaders. X.Drake, a great 2K counter with utility, and then all the events were pretty good. Especially the defensive ones, and this one, the fact that it can pop a 5 or less, like just some really good. Yellow got some pretty good stuff, guys, and then of course Trafalgar Law to round it out, which is the manga of the set. Awesome. Okay, guys, well that is it. So now we're gonna hop over to the sim. I'm so glad to be done with that. I know a lot of people really don't like these set reviews. Don't worry, we won't have to do another one for another 3 months out. Okay, because I try to do these every single time a new set hits in the East, so that way we're caught up in the West, and we know what to look out for. We might know what to buy early. We might know, and then we'll know what's going on when we see the results come in, and when the sim gets updated, we'll be up to date. So really good stuff here, guys. Really good stuff from Yellow. Now let's hop over to the sim. We got one game before we finish this off. Let me move that. There we go. And let me push this to here. And guys, we got a game of Red Yellow Sabo versus Purple Luffy, or PLuffy, as some people call it. So the speed is on 2x, volume is off, and here we go. This is a very short game, I know. I'm sorry, guys, for the tease, but this is just some of the, this is how Red Yellow Sabo can top roll. And I will say this right now, guys, against Purple Luffy, whoever goes first has a very high chance of winning this game when it comes to Red Yellow Sabo versus Purple Luffy. Going first is a huge deal in this matchup. I get to go first, so I get to establish the tempo. So he's down to 3 life. He took the first hit, so he must be low on counter. I'm going to swing for 5. Let's see if he wants to use the blocker, and I can smash into that. He chooses not to. I'll play out the Karasu. I'm not swinging with my Morley. I have a Karasu on the board now. I have an Ivankov and a Morley. He just took a life to ramp up to use his card, to use his Sanji. I'm going to 2K 1K aggressively. He's going to swing for 7. I'm going to 2K 1K, and he doesn't want to risk swinging in with the Eustass Kid. So I'm like, okay, well, here we go. I'm just going to go face. So swing, you play out the Karasu, -1 to the leader. Swing 7 with the other Karasu, -1 more to the leader. I'm going to attach a Dawn to my leader, or well, swing 6 first with this, so he doesn't know what I'm trying to do. I'm going to swing for 6 more. I probably should have pushed this card to life first, but whatever. Not a big deal. Push him to life now. Swing for 7. And he'll be down to 0 life if he takes this. Okay, I think this is going to be it, though. Yeah, if I remember correctly, he just rage quits. So it's not that the game was over right there, but next turn I would be on my 9 Dawn turn. How else do I say it, guys? Next turn, I'll be on my 9 Dawn turn. He's not going to be able to remove... Well, excuse me, he will be able to remove both those characters on the board, but it doesn't matter because if you look at his hand, he's not removing my Karasu. I have 4 cards in my life. Let me see what they are real quick. Two of them are triggers. I have a Lindbergh and a Jory Bonney, so one's a draw 2 trash one, the other is a body at the very bottom. But here's the thing, I don't even think that's going to matter because here's how my next turn is going to go. I'm not going to stop bringing the heat. What's going to happen is I'm going to have 9 Dawn, right? So that was my 7 Dawn turn. I'll be on 9 Dawn next turn. So it's going to be Slam Down Dragon, attach 2 to my Karasu, swing 7 into face with Karasu to drop him down to 4, and then I'm going to swing 6 into into face with my leader, drop, 6 into 4, remember, because he has less life. And I'm going to push the Karasu back to the top of my life and give the dragon plus 2,000 power. And he'll be swinging in for 11. And now he'll have almost no way of getting rid of that card because notice the card I'll be drawing for the turn. It will be a Kuma. And I'll be at 5 life. It will just be a nightmare. And that's if he decided to go into my, decided to go into my board. So he's just in such a horrible position. I'm not saying he should have left right then. The game's not over. He could have tried to play out a block or he could have tried to stabilize. But it was not going to be getting any easier for him from there. That's all I can say. All right, guys, like I said, that was a fast game. Tomorrow we will be going into Red, Yellow, Sabo even more. We're going to be checking out a new deck that I've been messing around with. It's not the standard deck that I've been showing off on the channel. I'll be messing around with a new tempo-style deck, a board flood deck in tomorrow's Red, Yellow, Sabo comprehensive guide. All right, guys, here's the list I was running. This is, so this is what the list looks like, but then when I remove the leader, it'll all sit on 2 lines perfectly. Running 2 Ivankovs, 4 Karasu, 4 Koala, 2 Kuma, 4 Bello Betty, 4 Morley, 4 Lindbergh, 4 of the 5-cost Ivankov, 2 Monkey D Dragon, 4 Karasu, the blocker, 3 Koala, the 6-cost blocker, 3 of the 7-cost Sabo, 4 Kuma, 2 Betty, 2 Fire Fist, and 2 Galaxy Wings. And guys, this is just a strong deck. I don't know what else to say. It just and it feels good to play. It feels really good to play this deck. I have talked about changes in my previous Red Yellow Sabo video. We have some things to talk about, but I'll try to save it for tomorrow's video. But we have a lot to talk about. I'm not down on Sabo or anything like that, but we do need to kind of discuss the future because there's so many different routes. And plus, in this next video, I do want to talk about how I basically, how do I say this? I want to make a I'm going to make a community challenge for people who want to help me out, but I'll mention that in tomorrow's Red Yellow Sabo video. All right, guys, that's it. Hope y'all enjoyed. Please do not forget to like and subscribe. If you have any comments, questions, or suggestions, please do not hesitate to put them down in the comment section below. Big shout out to everybody who supports the channel, whether you're liking, subscribing, sharing, commenting, just watching my videos. All of it helps me out, guys. Big shout out to the VV Pirates playmat supporters. Hope you guys are enjoying your playmats. And then last but not least, of course, the patrons who are just donating to help me out. Really appreciate you guys. Thank you so much. And yeah, we're done, guys. We're done with the OP10 set review. Like I said, we should be good for another 3 months. So it feels good. We got that over with. We're good for a while. All right, that's it, guys. Hope you enjoyed. Please do not forget to like and subscribe. Until next time, guys. Peace.